man from immigration came to my house today, said you ain't from his nation, you simply cannot stay. There's been a declaration, boy, your papers ain't no good. Your quick evacuation surely suit this neighborhood.
First of all, I want to thank you for the hard work you're doing. I know you're still, no one thought it was going to be an easy road, and I know you're still advocating diligently and sticking with it, want to see it through. Tell me what you're sensing. We had Jake on earlier, and he was didn't get like the inside track, and the governor's office seemed to be kind of quiet on where they think it should be placed, how it should be regulated. But he said that in talking to you that he believed you were confident that the governor's add-ons or whatever he wanted to do to change would be helpful. What exactly is he referring to?
I didn't necessarily say helpful. I said, I could accept them.
Okay.
But I think what's good is that we do have the governor's office involved now in looking at this, which means, they're definitely considering what they would need to see to sign this, because there was really never any indication before if we did get it to the House and Senate, would he sign this, because it is a somewhat controversial piece of legislation. And but now we are, in meetings and we're getting feedback on concerns they have. And it seems like the concerns that they have, focus more on, say regulatory issues or just, who's going to look at this. A big focus being on, believe it or not, the medibles, being that they are food and that other foods are regulated by health departments. So I would assume that, they would require that the kitchen that the brownies are being prepared in would have an inspection from the state and be cleared.
Could you talk about maybe some of the other proposed alterations beyond the food service?
It's really somewhat vague right now. There were some questions on local control issues, but it's kind of vague. I really think there'll still be local control where your locality approves or disapproves. That's in my bill. But then the question was, where should regulations come from? The locals of each locality have regulations, but still approval and enforcement, is still locally, at least as far as it is right now.
If it is going to be, if they are talking about the state being involved in some capacity, like a new agency or an existing agency involved with this, and do you see that being some agency other than the state police?
I don't picture a new agency right now, especially with a Republican government. We have a lot of conservatives that don't want to see the growth of government. They don't want to see the creation of a new agency and how that's funded and more money. I think when we're looking at, what existing agencies we have that would apply to this sort of practice. Now, health departments, I know I was Barry Eaton Health Department. They're more county-type level things that would inspect food safety. But then there are, beyond the medible issue and preparation of medibles that are ingested, then there's just, some more general issues of regulation of, provisioning centers. And that I would not think be a health department issue, but that's still discussion that's being had. I can't give any detail.
Have you heard anything about timing? Is it possible that they hit the Senate floor before the elections?
I don't think so, because there's only a few days of session left. And now, as this bill has come along, a lot of people have added their input and ideas. And so now the governor's office has input and ideas. Plus, there's election concerns. I personally think this is an election winner, since 63% of the public voted for the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act and 37% of people voted against it. And if I'm going to win an election, I want to hang out with 63, not 37. I actually think this is a great election issue, especially in the kind of election that we have right now, and I think that's why you've seen the Democrat candidate, Mark Schauer, jump on it and support it. You know, I think it would be a good issue, but you do have, like if you're in more conservative districts, you know, maybe they feel it isn't a good issue, but it did pass in every county in this state, all 83 counties. So maybe, I don't think it's being held back because of the election. I think there's only 3 more days of session before we go into a period where we're not meeting and everyone goes back to their districts and works in their districts. I don't see this happening next week. It would have to happen next week, and it's not ready yet. So I see this happening, and I do think this is going to move completely through the process, and we will have a bill by the end of this session. This session ends at the end of December, and I think this will happen. I'm actually very encouraged that the governor's office is getting after now and seriously looking at it and offering ideas, suggestions, and stuff. So I really do.
Are you surprised that it took, or that it may take right up till the end of the session to be able to get them done, considering how much energy they had coming out of the House?
I think the Senate got it, and I think we were successful in getting it to a favorable committee. And they looked at it, and it came out of the committee 4-1. That's 80%. That's not too shabby. And then, so it's being prepared to go to the Senate floor, and I think the Senate leader, Randy Richardsville, has just a lot of input that he wanted to put into it. Some ideas he had, some concerns he had, and he's taken some extra time, I think, to work on including some suggestions that I think will emerge as the bill does hit the Senate floor.
House Bill 5104, which requires a supermajority vote to pass, we haven't really discussed any changes at all about that, except for the aforementioned issue regarding food safety. That seems pretty much intact as it came out of committee. Is that correct? There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of jostling with that language, is there?
Not as much. It's not as a wide scope bill as the Provisioning Center Bill 4271, which creates the whole concept of a provisioning center and how it operates and how it's supplied and how it dispenses, safety, labeling. I mean, it just has so many facets to it, and I'm sure we'll be going back and continuing to work on bills to, make them better or maybe hit things that we didn't anticipate. But the Medibles Act more focuses on, medibles, which is not as large a scope as the Prevention Center bill, and it's more straightforward, I think. But really, like you say, the biggest discussion has been these are still foods. If you take food and you put medicine in it, it's medicine now, but it's still food. And the health department sees it as such, and I can see their point that it should be inspected. This bill comes out of the House 95-14, and the Medibles bill comes out 100-9. These two bills passed by a greater amount than any marijuana-type legislation passed in this country. And it really, was a lot of good, hard work by advocates, by patients, by these people, by people contacting their legislator, by shows like this. It's amazing. And that's all you should be worrying about is your businesses.
Right.
And you shouldn't be worried about fear of arrest or having your offices closed or your property confiscated.
Quote of the night. Right
so
there.
That's a parallel. It's a parallel. You're a new frontier healing profession, and you are the pioneers.
I said with fascination, sir, please help me to understand who got such duration that's still living on this land. The only population pretty much nothing now. That silent congregation pushing Daisy 6 feet down. Don't want to be a permanent resident. I just don't like the view from underneath the firmament with peckerheads like you. Don't get you the president of the government. You end up undergrad. Take my travel documents and shove them up your ass.